Hello, I'm Stacey Mallory, and welcome to Charters Talk 4630. If this is your first time here, we welcome you and ask that you follow this podcast by pressing on the subscribe button. This way, you'll be notified whenever this podcast goes on live or release the latest content. You can also listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And please go to the web and check out some hot topics involving the Chargers on stormcloud.blog, which is run by our very own Cal D. Well. I have been waiting for this for so long. Let me tell you how important this podcast is for me right now. My weekend was fantastic. I celebrated my 26th wedding anniversary. I also celebrated 47 seasons as a Charger fan just yesterday, beginning with week one. And we also celebrated a fantastic victory with the Chargers and Raiders. I mean, they got down in SoFi yesterday. It was ugly and sloppy the first half for the Chargers. I mean, Will Dissly was kind of undisciplined to start the game off. He kept getting these pre-snap penalties that would drive killers. And I have to admit, I was kind of stunned in the first half because the Raiders controlled the line of scrimmage. Not only controlled the line of scrimmage, the time of possession. They was winning the battles in the trenches and causing all kinds of confusion on that offensive line with different looks and stunts that appeared to catch the Chargers off guard. But despite as ugly as a half that they had, the good thing that came out of it was they were only down by 1 point. But it felt like we was down by 17 with the way they were beating our guys at the line of scrimmage. Whatever Harbaugh said to them at halftime, trust me, they came out looking like a total different team with a different purpose and a different attitude. This is where you saw the contrast with the two coaches in Harbaugh and Pierce. Like in the past, it was always a disadvantage we had when it came to coaching, but Pierce was no match for Harbaugh. And once he figured things out with regards to how the Raiders was attacking his team and made the proper adjustments, Pierce looked lost, and so did his team. We knew the Chargers was going to lean heavy into that run game, and lean as they did as J.K. Dobbins opened up a can of you-know-what and put up 135 yards on the ground when it was all said and done. The Chargers racked up 176 yards rushing, averaging 6.5 yards per rush on 27 running plays. And to the Raiders' credit, they had their way most of the first half. Then the Chargers took an early lead in the third quarter after a 9-play, 74-yard drive, ending with the Cameron Dicker 24-yard field goal. Then they would lead 9-7, and the Raiders could only manage a Dan Carson 32-yard field goal in the fourth quarter, but still they trailed 16-10, 10 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. But the Chargers continued their second half of physical dominating play in the fourth quarter, and with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left, it was time to close the door. My dude said this is a new day, a new Chargers team, and we will finish, as he broke off a grown man run from the Chargers' 23-yard line with a 61-yard run that all but sealed the deal, and that was capped off by Ladd McConkey saying to Herbert, "Hit me on a slant and I'll let you see my footwork." And that he did. Herbert hit McConkey on a slant at the 5-yard line where he did a couple of Fred Astaire moves, making two defenders miss, and got into the end zone for the dagger. The Chargers closed the door with the methodical drive, and the Raiders never knew what hit them. The Chargers didn't have a great day with Herbert on offense, other than K.J. Dobbins. But by the way, they weren't getting production out of their defense all game. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa was applying pressure all game. We're both picking up sacks. They both are playing more disciplined now, and it was just a complete win for the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh. It took a little time offensively for them to feel their way around some things, and it's a different style that Justin Herbert is not used to playing. He's always been in a let-it-fly type offense, and this was more kind of a conservative approach while using that running game, which was things he didn't necessarily have a lot of early in his career. And I thought it was a well-constructed game plan by Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman. Now, look, it's going to take a little time. I know that. He's got some young receivers that are going to have to step up, but they ran the ball well, and that's what you expect from a Jim Harbaugh and a Greg Roman style offense. You got to run the ball. You're going to see a lot of physical play, and this defense was fantastic. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack was lights out. Poona Ford was taking on double teams and holding his own, making it difficult for the Raiders to consistently move the ball on the ground. In the second half, the offensive lines and defensive lines begin to dictate a physical nature up front and impose their will on the Raiders. The secondary gave up some plays here and there, but overall, they played well by bending and not breaking. Jim Harbaugh have to feel pretty good, and he knows how hard it is to win in this league. The Chargers snap a 5-game losing streak going back to last year, and they get off on the right foot in the Jim Harbaugh era, and I can't be more happier right now. And he knows if you ever get into a shootout, Herbert can deliver, but the receivers need to keep getting better. But this team is going to win in a multitude of different ways. I think you kind of get the sense that if you want to run it and eat up time on the clock and play to keep the ball away from a high-powered offense, let's say like Kansas City Chiefs, they can do that. And if they have to win in a shootout, putting up big-time numbers in a game, you get the sense they can do that also. But I do believe with the inexperienced receivers they have, Ortiz do need to get on the phone and sign a veteran who could come in here and make some clutch catches in those moments where you absolutely have to have it. Joshua Palmer was a little disappointing to me yesterday because he had 2 catches where he appeared afraid to take the hit, and he dropped both of them. And one of those would have been an easy touchdown. He's the most experienced of the group of receivers, and he has to get better. So no more choking. No more charging, no more finding new ways to lose, because under Jim Harbaugh's direction, the Chargers were able to stay the course, don't abandon the game plan, and continue to run the ball, and they was able to figure things out after being dominated in the first half. In the second half, they became the bullies. They began to dictate. They started dominating in the trenches. And all of this is because they have now taken on the character of their head coach, Jim Harbaugh. And last but not least, I want to give some mad love and mad props to our new right tackle, Joe Alt. He gave up no pressures and no sacks to arguably the best all-around pass rusher in the game today. He lost some battles, but he won most of them. The best of the best will get beat sometimes. As long as you win more battles than you lose. The first day on the job going against Max Crosby, he did a very, very good job. The Raiders were tough, but we were tough longer. And when the frustration kicked in and they knew we put it on them, now they want a street fight. Get out of here, Raiders. Take this L with you. I am so happy to be a Chargers fan right now. I had to listen the whole offseason with all these guys that I know that are Raider fans that were constantly bragging about putting up 62 points on a team that was full of second and third stringers. Now we had all our boys out there in a game that matters. That game didn't mean anything. If anything, it helped us fire Brandon Staley and bring in Jim Harbaugh. But the fact that they bragged like it was winning a Super Bowl for them. And I get it. The first half, they looked rusty. It looked ugly. There was a lot of confusion. There were a lot of Raider fans in the stands. I get that. And all of those things were starting to cause communication problems on the line. Will Dissly kept uncharacteristically getting these pre-snap penalties. And it just was ugly, ugly football. But whatever Harbaugh said, when they came out there that second half, they took over. And KJ Dobbins, Lord have mercy. I am so glad we got KJ Dobbins. Agbania and Poona Ford, man, look. Those were 2 defensive tackles in the middle of that defensive line where we struggled for years, and they were taking on 2 and 3 blockers sometime, and they were shutting that run down. Yeah, they gashed us here or there, but for the most part, Jesse Minter, we got a defense. Thank you, Jesse Minter. You are everything to this team that Brandon Staley what? What I'm going to do now, I'm closing the door. To hell with Brandon Staley. To hell with Tom Telesco. The Chargers start off the Jim Harbaugh era with a victory. The psyche that does for our fan base, because we heard about it the entire offseason. We heard about it after Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz was hired. We heard about what it was going to look like. We're gonna run the ball. We're going to impose our will on teams. We heard about it all, but until we actually see it, we didn't know what it would look like. Yesterday, it took a while to figure things out into the second half, but we see what it looks like. And I don't care. Like somebody told me, well, Justin only threw 145 yards. I don't give a damn about stats. I've been a Charger fan for 47 seasons right now. I want to win. As long as we putting those W's up in the AFC West and across the league, I can give a damn about stats. Only thing I care about is wins. I am pumped. I am excited. And guess what? Who's got it better than us? Nobody.